Admiral Jiwon stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Indomitable and studied the battlefield. She was 58 years old and had served in 3 major conflicts on Earth. She had seen humanity at its worst and its best. Now she was about to show the galaxy what humans could do when they stopped holding back. "Status of Viridian Station?" she asked. "Barely holding, Admiral," her tactical officer reported. "Captain Junho's forces have taken 45% casualties, but the station is still operational. Evacuation is at 60% complete. And the Krillian fleet? 300 vessels in orbit with more arriving every hour. They have been trying to destroy the station for 8 days and failed. The hive mind is committing more resources to finish the job." Jiwon smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Then they are making a mistake. When an enemy refuses to break, you do not send more troops to break them. You find another strategy, but the Krillians do not understand humans yet. They think we are just stubborn. Are we not, Admiral? We are not stubborn. We are relentless. There is a difference." G1 pulled up a tactical map. "The Krillians have concentrated their forces around Viridian Station. That means their supply lines are exposed. Their staging bases are vulnerable. They are so focused on breaking Junho's defense that they have forgotten basic military doctrine." "What are your orders, Admiral?" "We are going to teach them what happens when you fight humans," G1 said. "We are going to hit every Krillian position within 3 systems. We are going to destroy their supplies, kill their reinforcements, and make them regret ever coming here. Send the order to all ships. Operation Relentless Dawn begins now." The Earth fleet split into groups. Each group targeted a different Krillian position. They did not fight like the Coalition. They did not try to win with superior technology or numbers. They fought like humans, using speed, surprise, and aggression. One group attacked a Krillian supply depot on the edge of the system. The Krillians had thousands of soldiers guarding it. The humans did not try to defeat them. They flew past the defenses, dropped explosive charges on the depot, and left before the Krillians could respond. The depot exploded, taking enough supplies to support the Krillian army for a month. Another group found a Krillian staging base where reinforcements were preparing to assault Viridian Station. The humans did not engage the base directly. Instead, they destroyed the transport ships docked there. Without transportation, the reinforcements were stranded. A third group located a Krillian communications relay. They hacked it using techniques that the Coalition considered primitive, but effective. For 6 hours, the Krillian hive mind received false information about human fleet positions. When they realized the deception, 3 Krillian fleets had flown into ambushes. On Viridian Station, Captain Junho watched the tactical updates with tired satisfaction. The pressure on the station was decreasing. The Krillian attacks were less coordinated, weaker. "The Admiral is giving us breathing room," Lieutenant Hana said. She looked as exhausted as Junho felt. Her armor was held together with repair patches. Her rifle had been replaced twice. "How many of our people are still combat effective?" Junho asked. "Maybe 3,000 out of the original 50,000, Hana replied. "But the Coalition forces are fighting better now. They have learned from us. Commander Taman has 15,000 Coalition soldiers who can hold the line." Junho nodded. "Then we use our remaining forces for offensive operations. I want strike teams ready to move within the hour. We are going to clear the Krillians off this station permanently. Sir, our people are exhausted. We have been fighting for 8 days straight." "I know," Junho said quietly, "but we are almost done. The evacuation is at 70%. Another 3 days and everyone will be safe. We can rest when the job is finished." Hana looked at him, then nodded. "I will get the teams ready, sir." In the medical bay, Dr. Yoonji finished her 47th surgery of the day. The patient was a Coalition soldier who had been crushed when a bulkhead collapsed. She had saved his life, though he would need months of recovery. "Doctor, you need to rest," a nurse said. The nurse was human too, a young woman named Suman who had not slept in 30 hours. "After this one," Yoonji said, "there is another patient coming in from Deck 7. There is always another patient. The war will not end because you collapse from exhaustion." "No, but people will die if I'm not here to treat them," Yoonji replied. "I can rest later." Suman wanted to argue but knew it was pointless. She had worked with Yoonji for 8 days and learned that the doctor would keep going until she physically could not continue. It was terrifying and inspiring at the same time. The pattern repeated across the station. Human soldiers who should have been resting prepared for another assault. Human engineers who should have collapsed from exhaustion worked on critical repairs. Human commanders who had been awake for days planned the next operation. The Krillians had never faced anything like it. Their hive mind analyzed the situation and found it incomprehensible. By every calculation, the humans should have surrendered or died days ago, but they kept fighting, kept adapting, kept refusing to quit. For the first time in its existence, the Krillian hive mind felt something it did not understand: uncertainty. Corporal Wu Jin led a small squad through the maintenance tunnels on Deck 4. They had received reports of Krillians using these tunnels to move around undetected. His job was to clear them out. "Contact 30 meters ahead," his point man whispered over the radio. Wu Jin signaled for the squad to stop. He moved forward carefully, his rifle ready. In the dim light of the tunnel, he saw movement. Krillian soldiers, maybe a dozen of them. He could call for backup. He could retreat and seal the tunnel. Those would be safe choices, but Wu Jin had learned something in 8 days of combat. Safe choices were not always the best choices. Sometimes you had to take risks. "Grenades on my mark," he whispered to his squad. 3, 2, 1, mark. Explosives flew down the tunnel. The Krillians reacted, but not fast enough. The tunnel became a killing ground. When the smoke cleared, all 12 Krillians were dead. "Tunnel clear," Wu Jin reported. Moving to the next section, his squad followed without hesitation. They trusted him because he had kept them alive for 8 days. He trusted them because they had saved his life 3 times. On day 9, Admiral G1 launched her final operation. She had identified the Krillian command ship, the vessel that housed the primary node of the hive mind for this region. It was heavily defended, surrounded by 50 escort vessels. The coalition had tried to attack command ships before. The defenses were too strong. The risk was too high. Every attempt had failed. Juan did not care about previous failures. She cared about results. "All ships form up on my position," she ordered. "We are going straight at them. Full speed, all weapons firing. Do not stop, do not slow down, do not turn away. If your ship takes critical damage, ram the nearest enemy vessel. We are going through them." Her fleet accelerated toward the Krillian command ship. The Krillians opened fire with hundreds of weapons. Human ships started taking hits immediately, but they did not slow down. 3 human ships exploded. The fleet kept coming. 5 more ships took critical damage. The fleet kept coming. The Krillians had never seen tactics like this. They calculated that the humans should break off, should preserve their forces. The humans ignored the calculations and kept attacking. Jiwan's ship took a direct hit that destroyed the port engines. The ship lurched but maintained course. "Hull breaches on 3 decks, her damage control officer reported. "Can we still fly?" "Yes, Admiral." "Then we keep going." Jiwan watched her tactical display. They were almost through the Krillian defensive line. "All ships target the command vessel. Every weapon you have, fire now." The human fleet opened fire at point-blank range. Missiles, energy weapons, kinetic rounds, everything poured into the Krillian command ship. The vessel's shields collapsed. Its hull ruptured. Inside, the hive mind node died. Across the battlefield, Krillian ships suddenly became uncoordinated. Without the central node, they acted on independent programming, confused and inefficient. "All ships pursue and destroy," G1 ordered. "Do not let them regroup." The battle turned into a rout. Krillian ships fled in all directions. Some tried to fight but could not coordinate their efforts. The human fleet hunted them down methodically. On Viridian Station, the Krillian attacks stopped. The creatures still on board became disorganized, easier to defeat. Captain Junho led a final assault that cleared the remaining Krillians from the station in 6 hours. When it was over, when the last Krillian was dead and the last evacuation transport had departed, Junho stood in the command center with Commander Taemin. "It is finished," Taemin said. He sounded like he could not believe it. "We held. We actually held. We did more than hold," Junho said. "We won, and your people learned something important." "What did we learn?" "That defeat is not certain until you accept it. That numbers do not tell the whole story. That will matters as much as capability." Junho looked out at the stars through the damaged viewport. "The Krillians will come again, but now you know how to fight them." Taemin nodded slowly. "Because of you. Because humans showed us." "No," Junho said. "You always had the capability. You just needed someone to show you that it was possible. Now you know, and you will teach others." "We will hold it together then," Taemin said quietly. Junho smiled. "Yes, Commander, we will." Day 3 of the battle for Viridian Station began with another massive Krillian assault. The creatures had adapted their tactics, attacking from multiple directions simultaneously. It was the kind of coordinated strike that usually forced coalition troops to abandon their positions. The humans did not abandon anything. Private Wu Jin had not slept in 43 hours. His hands shook from exhaustion. His armor was cracked in 2 places. The medical stimulants in his system kept him upright, but he knew he was running on fumes. None of it mattered. His sector was holding. Movement 300 meters, corridor junction, someone shouted. Wu Jin raised his rifle. His eyes burned. He blinked hard and forced them to focus. Dark shapes flowed down the corridor toward their position. Here they come again, Sergeant Dongyun said. The sergeant had not slept either. None of them had. The Krillians charged. The humans fired. It was the same pattern that had repeated dozens of times over the past 3 days. Each time the Krillians died. Each time more came, but the line held. What the Krillians did not understand was that humans had evolved for this. Humanity had spent 200,000 years learning how to fight when tired, when hungry, when wounded. The ability to keep moving when every instinct screamed to stop was built into human DNA. The Krillian hive mind calculated that the humans should collapse from exhaustion. The calculations were wrong. On Deck 19, Lieutenant Hana organized a counterattack. This was new doctrine, something the Coalition had never tried. Instead of just defending, she was taking the fight to the Krillians. "Third squad, you come with me. First and second squads hold the line," she ordered. "Lieutenant, command doctrine says we should maintain defensive positions." A Coalition liaison officer protested. He was a tall alien with blue skin and 3 eyes. He looked horrified at what Hana was planning. "Your doctrine is why you are losing," Hana said bluntly. "We are not going to sit here and let them pick when and where to fight. We are going hunting." She led her squad through a service tunnel that the Krillians had not discovered yet. They moved fast, weapons ready. When they emerged behind a group of Krillians preparing to assault the human lines, they opened fire without warning. The Krillians never saw it coming. 20 of them died in the first 5 seconds. "Fall back to our lines now," Hana ordered. They ran, the surviving Krillians chasing them. But Hana had planned the route carefully. The chase led the Krillians straight into prepared firing positions. The creatures ran into a trap, and the humans cut them down from 3 directions. The Coalition liaison officer stared at the dead Krillians. You ambushed them. We have never successfully ambushed the Krillians before." "They are predictable," Hana explained. "They calculate what we should do, then plan around it. But we are not doing what we should do. We are doing what works." Word of the ambush spread through the Coalition forces still on the station. Human tactical doctrine was being studied, analyzed, and slowly adopted. Coalition soldiers started using cover more effectively. They stopped retreating the moment things looked bad. They started fighting like they had something to prove. In the command center, Commander Taemin met with his senior officers and Captain Junho. The holographic display showed the station's status. Every deck had battle damage. Life support was failing in 3 sections, but the evacuation continued. "We have evacuated 400 million people," Taemin reported. "Transport capacity is increasing as more ships arrive from other systems. At current rates, we can evacuate everyone in 8 more days. Can the station last 8 days?" Junho asked. "Structurally, yes. The question is whether we can hold it militarily for that long." Junho studied the tactical map. "We need to change our approach. Right now, we are reacting to Krillian attacks. We need to be proactive. What do you suggest?" "We raid them," Junho said. "The Krillians have established staging areas on the outer hull of the station. We hit those areas, destroy their forward positions, force them to waste resources rebuilding." One of Taemin's officers spoke up. "Captain, that would require sending soldiers outside the station in vacuum against prepared positions." "The casualty rate would be high," Junho finished, "but it changes the dynamic. Right now, the Krillians control the pace of battle. We change that." Taemin looked at his officers. They looked uncertain, frightened. He looked at Junho. The human looked tired but determined. "Organize your raid," Taemin said. "We will support it with everything we have." Sergeant Donghyun volunteered to lead the first raid. He took 20 soldiers, all volunteers, all knowing they might not come back. They put on vacuum suits and loaded their weapons with ammunition designed for zero-gravity combat. They checked each other's seals 3 times. Then they entered the airlock. "Remember," Donghyun said over the suit radio. "We move fast, hit hard, and get out before they can organize a response. No heroes, no last stands. We cause damage and leave, clear?" "Clear, Sergeant," his squad responded. The airlock opened to space. The soldiers pushed off, using small thruster packs to navigate across the station's outer hull. Below them, the planet Viridian Prime glowed with city lights. Above them, the stars were cold and distant. The Krillian staging area was a cluster of attached pods like a mechanical barnacle on the station's hull. Krillian soldiers crawled over it, preparing for the next assault. Donghyun's squad approached from an unexpected angle, using the station's sensor blind spot. They got within 30 meters before the Krillians detected them. "Light them up," Donghyun ordered. Explosive charges flew through space. They attached to the Krillian pods with magnetic clamps. 3 seconds later, they detonated. In vacuum, there was no sound. The explosions were silent. But the destruction was total. The Krillian pods ripped apart. Bodies spun away into space. The staging area ceased to exist. "Move, move, move," Donghyun shouted. His squad retreated as Krillian reinforcements poured out from other parts of the hull. They made it back to the airlock with 1 casualty, a soldier who took a hit to his thruster pack and had to be towed back. When they came back inside, Taemin was waiting. "Sergeant Donghyun, your raid destroyed a major Krillian position." "Well done," Donghyun pulled off his helmet. "Sir, request permission to organize 5 more raids tonight. We have identified 3 other staging areas." Taemin looked at this human, who had just survived a desperate raid through open space, and wanted to do it again immediately. "Permission granted," he said. The raids continued. Human soldiers hit Krillian positions across the station's exterior. Each raid destroyed equipment, killed Krillian soldiers, and bought more time for the evacuation. And something strange started happening. Coalition soldiers volunteered to join the raids. They watched the humans and learned. They saw that aggressive action could work, that taking risks was sometimes smarter than playing it safe. On day 5, a mixed coalition human team destroyed the largest Krillian staging area. The team was led by a coalition officer, using tactics he learned from watching humans fight. Commander Taemin watched this and realized something profound. The humans were not just fighting, they were teaching. They were showing the galaxy what war looked like when you refused to quit, but the cost was terrible. Human casualties had reached 42%. More than 2,000 human soldiers were dead or wounded. The survivors were exhausted, running on determination alone. In a quiet moment, Taemin found Captain Junho in a medical bay. The captain was visiting wounded soldiers, talking to each one. "Captain, you should rest," Taemin said. "So should they," Junho replied, gesturing to the wounded. "But they will be back in the fight as soon as the medics clear them." Taemin watched a medic working on a soldier with a severe leg wound. The medic's name was Yoonji, and she had been working for 5 days straight. She had performed hundreds of surgeries, saved dozens of lives, and never once left her post for more than a meal break. "Why do you do this?" Taemin asked quietly. "Your people had no stake in this war. You could have stayed home, stayed safe. Why come here to die for aliens you do not even know?" Junho thought about the question. "Commander, every species faces a choice at some point. You can look at suffering and turn away, or you can step forward and do something about it. Humans have made a lot of mistakes in our history. We have done terrible things. But we have also learned that standing by while others suffer makes us less than what we should be. That is why you fight? Philosophy?" "No," Junho said. "We fight because you needed help and we could give it. Everything else is just words." Taemin felt something he had not felt in months. Hope. Not because the situation had improved mathematically. The numbers were still bad. But because he had seen humans refuse to accept defeat for 5 days, and that refusal was spreading. On day 6, coalition forces across the Viridian system stopped retreating. They held their positions. They fought like the humans taught them. On day 7, reinforcements arrived from Earth. Another 30,000 human soldiers, along with Admiral Jiwon and the Earth Defense Fleet. 200 ships, small by galactic standards but crude by humans who understood what this battle meant. Private Wu Jin, now a corporal after his sergeant was killed, watched the Earth fleet arrive on a monitor. He had not cried when his sergeant died. He had not seen The human transports dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Viridian system. Immediately, alarms started screaming. The space around the station was full of debris from destroyed ships. Krillian vessels swarmed like angry insects, their black hulls reflecting no light. "Get us to the station now," Captain Junho ordered. The Coalition pilot looked back at him with wide eyes. "Captain, we will be under fire the entire approach. The probability of reaching the station without critical damage is—" "I do not care about probability," Junho said. "Get us there." The pilot hesitated, then nodded. The transport accelerated toward the station. Viridian Station was a massive ring of metal and glass 3 kilometers across. It should have been beautiful. Instead, it looked like a dying animal. Parts of the outer hull were torn open. Atmosphere vented from dozens of breaches. Small explosions flashed across its surface. The Krillians were already boarding it. "All battalions prepare for hot deployment," Junho announced over the communication system. "We are landing in an active combat zone. Standard breach protocol. Move fast, establish defensive positions, do not stop moving until you reach your assigned sectors." Behind him, his soldiers checked their weapons one final time. They wore heavy armor, designed for extended combat in hostile environments. Each soldier carried enough ammunition for 3 firefights, medical supplies, and demolition charges. The transport shook as Krillian weapons hit the shields. The lights flickered. Somewhere in the back, someone was praying quietly. 30 seconds to docking, the pilot announced. His hands shook on the controls. Junho activated his helmet. The faceplate sealed with a hiss. Around him, his soldiers did the same. "Listen to me," he said over the battalion channel. "The aliens out there have never seen humans fight. They think we are primitives. They think we do not matter. In 30 seconds, we show them what humans can do. We show them what happens when you push us into a corner. Are you ready?" "Yes, sir," 250 voices shouted back. The transport slammed into the docking port. The doors blew open. Captain Junho was the first one out. He stepped into chaos. The docking bay was full of smoke and bodies. Coalition soldiers were retreating through the far exit, firing wildly behind them. Krillian soldiers poured through a breach in the wall, their legs clicking on the metal floor. Junho raised his rifle and fired. The weapon was a human design, using chemical propellants instead of energy beams. It was primitive by galactic standards. It was also brutally effective. The first Krillian went down with 3 bullets through its shell. The second one died before it understood what was shooting it. "Alpha Company, defensive line now," Junho shouted. His soldiers poured out of the transport, spreading across the docking bay in practiced movements. They did not stand in the open like the Coalition soldiers. They used cover, moving from cargo container to support pillar, setting up overlapping fields of fire. The Krillians came at them in a wave, and the humans did not retreat. Sergeant Dongyun set up his heavy machine gun behind an overturned cargo sled. The weapon was old-fashioned, a simple design that threw metal bullets at extremely high speed. He opened fire and the sound was deafening in the enclosed space. Krillians fell in groups. Their shells cracked under the impact. Their legs twisted. But they kept coming. They do not stop. A young soldier next to Dongyun shouted. "Neither do we," Dongyun shouted back. "Keep firing." Private Wujin found himself pressed against a wall, his rifle hot in his hands. A Krillian came around the corner, moving too fast. Wujin fired on instinct, the training taking over. The Krillian collapsed, another one came. He fired again, then another. He lost count after the 7th one. His rifle clicked empty. He dropped the magazine, slammed in a new one, kept firing. The motion was automatic, drilled into him by thousands of hours of training. On the station's command deck, Commander Taman watched his screens in disbelief. The humans had been on the station for less than 3 minutes. In that time, they had secured the main docking bay, established a defensive perimeter, and stopped a Krillian advance that had been pushing Coalition forces back for 2 hours. "How are they doing this?" his tactical officer asked. Taman watched the human soldiers on the security cameras. They moved differently than Coalition soldiers. They stayed low, used cover aggressively, and fired in short, controlled bursts. When Krillians got close, the humans switched to shorter weapons or used knives. They fought like people who expected things to go wrong. "Connect me to Captain Junho," Taman ordered. A moment later, Junho's voice came through, barely audible over weapon fire. "Commander Taman, this is Captain Junho. We are securing the docking area now. Captain, I am sending you tactical data on Krillian positions throughout the station. There are breaches on Deck 7, 12, and 19. We have been unable to contain them. We will handle it, Junho said simply. What is your evacuation status? We have transported 200 million civilians so far. 5.8 billion remain on the planet. Junho was quiet for a moment. Then we hold the station. No matter what. Junho out, the communication ended. Taemin stared at his screens. The humans had just committed to defending a station against an enemy that outnumbered them. In a battle they could not mathematically win, and they said it like it was not even a question. The fighting spread through the station. Human battalions moved through the corridors, securing sections one by one. They found coalition soldiers trying to hold positions, losing ground to Krillian assaults. Lieutenant Hana led her company to Deck 7, where a large breach allowed Krillians to pour in from outside. Coalition forces had abandoned the deck entirely. Set up here, Hana ordered, pointing to a wide corridor that led to the breach. Heavy weapons at the back, rifles in front. We are not letting anything past this point. Her soldiers moved quickly, turning the corridor into a killing ground. They welded metal plates across side passages, forcing the Krillians to come straight at them. They stacked cargo containers for cover. They positioned their weapons carefully. When the Krillians came, they came in a massive wave, hundreds of them flowing down the corridor like black water. Hana waited until they were 50 meters away. Then she gave the order, fire. The corridor became hell. Bullets, grenades, and explosives tore through the Krillian formation. The creatures fell in heaps, but more kept coming, climbing over the bodies of the dead. Hana's rifle overheated. She dropped it, drew her pistol, kept firing. The Krillians reached the first line of defenders. Human soldiers met them with knives, combat tools, and bare hands when necessary. The fighting became brutal and close. Private Wujin found himself face to face with a Krillian, its mandibles clicking inches from his helmet. He could not get his rifle up in time. Instead, he jammed his combat knife into the joint where its head met its body. The creature thrashed, then went still. He shoved it away, raised his rifle, shot the next one. The battle lasted 40 minutes. When it was over, the corridor was full of dead Krillians. 19 human soldiers were dead or critically wounded. But the line had held. Status report, Hana called over the company channel. Alpha Squad, operational. 8 wounded. Bravo Squad, operational. 5 wounded. Charlie Squad, operational. We need ammunition. Hana looked at the breach in the station wall. Krillians were already gathering outside for another assault. Medical teams, get the wounded back to the aid station. Everyone else, resupply and prepare for round 2. We hold this deck. How long, Lieutenant? Someone asked. Hana thought about Captain Junho's orders. She thought about the 6 billion people on the planet below. She thought about what it meant to be human. As long as it takes, she said. On the planet's surface, the evacuation had accelerated. Coalition transports landed, loaded civilians, and departed as fast as possible. Everyone knew that human soldiers were dying in orbit to buy them time. It changed something in the coalition forces. If the humans could fight without hope of victory, maybe they could too. Commander Taemin walked through the station's corridors, inspecting the human defensive positions. He found Captain Junho on Deck 12 supervising repairs to a damaged bulkhead. Captain, I need to understand something, Taemin said. Your casualty rate is approaching 30%. The Krillians will attack again in less than 3 hours. Mathematically, you cannot hold this station for more than another day. Junho looked at him. His armor was scorched and dented. Blood stained his gloves, though Taemin did not know if it was human or Krillian. Commander, I have fought in 12 combat zones on Earth. I have seen battles where we should have lost. Sometimes we did lose. But we never lost because we gave up. We lost because the enemy beat us, which is different. I do not understand the difference. Giving up means you stop fighting when you are still capable of fighting. Losing means the enemy breaks you, Junho explained. The Krillians have not broken us. Therefore, we have not lost. Therefore, we keep fighting. But the mathematics tell you what should happen, Junho interrupted. But humans do not do what should happen. We do what we decide to do. And we have decided to hold this station. Taemin looked into the human's eyes and saw something that scared him more than the Krillians. He saw absolute certainty. Not hope, not confidence, but simple refusal to accept defeat. We will hold it together then, Taemin. The sky above Viridian Prime burned with the light of dying ships. Commander Taman stood on the bridge of the orbital defense station, watching another evacuation vessel explode before it could reach the jump point. The Krillians were everywhere now. Their black ships moved like insects across the stars and nothing could stop them. How many transports made it through? Taman asked. His voice was calm, but his hands shook. 17 out of 42, sir, his tactical officer replied. The young officer's face was gray with exhaustion. They had been fighting for 3 days without sleep. Taman looked at the numbers on his screen. 70% of the Coalition fleet was gone. The Krillians had destroyed 3 colony worlds in the past week. Viridian Prime would be the 4th. 6 billion people lived on the planet below. Most would never leave. The Krillians were unlike any enemy the galaxy had ever seen. They were a hive mind, millions of creatures thinking as one. They learned from every battle. Every tactic the Coalition used, the Krillians adapted to it within hours. Energy shields that worked yesterday were useless today. Weapons that killed them last week barely slowed them down now. Sir, the Aldorian Second Fleet is requesting permission to retreat, another officer said. Taman closed his eyes. The Aldorians were the Coalition's strongest military force. If they retreated, the battle was over. But he could not blame them. When defeat was certain, why throw away more lives? Permission granted, he said quietly. All forces, begin final evacuation procedures. Across the station, alarms began to sound. The evacuation order meant the same thing to everyone. Viridian Prime was lost. The Coalition was losing the war. In the diplomatic section of the station, Ambassador Yuna watched the chaos through a window. She was human, one of only 50 humans in Coalition space. Earth was far away on the edge of known territory. Most aliens did not even know humans existed. Those who did thought of them as primitives, barely capable of space travel. Yuna had been trying to get the Coalition's attention for 2 years. She wanted trade agreements, cultural exchange, and partnership. But the Coalition barely noticed Earth. Humanity was too young, too backward, too insignificant. Now she watched the greatest civilization in the galaxy fall apart. General Sora stood beside her. He was human too, a military observer who had come with her to learn about galactic warfare. He had been quiet for days, just watching and taking notes. They are giving up, Sora said. It was not a question. They have lost 70% of their forces, Yuna replied. Mathematically, they cannot win. Mathematically, Sora repeated. He sounded strange when he said it, like the word tasted bad in his mouth. Yuna looked at him. Sora was old for a soldier, maybe 50 years. He had scars on his face and hands. He had fought in the Asian water wars, the African collapse, and the South American conflicts. He had seen things that made him wake up screaming at night. What are you thinking? Yuna asked. I am thinking that math has never stopped a war, Sora said. Only people stop wars, when they decide to stop fighting. The Krillians will not stop fighting, Yuna said. No, Sora agreed. But maybe the Coalition is stopping too early. On the planet below, the Krillian ground forces were landing. They came down in massive swarms, each soldier the size of a large dog with black shells and too many legs. They moved in perfect coordination, never confused, never hesitant. The hive mind controlled them all. The Coalition army tried to hold the cities. They had good weapons and strong defenses. But the Krillians just kept coming. When Coalition soldiers destroyed 100 Krillians, 200 more appeared. When they held a position for an hour, the Krillians simply went around it. There was no strategy that worked for more than a day. Commander Taman received reports from the surface. The capital city would fall by morning. The spaceport was already overrun. Millions of civilians were trapped with no way to escape. Sir, message from Earth, a communications officer said suddenly. Taman looked up in surprise. Earth? The primitive planet on the edge of space? What could they possibly want at a time like this? Put it through, he said. Ambassador Yuna's face appeared on his screen. Commander Taman, I'm sending an urgent request to my government. Earth wishes to offer military assistance. Taman stared at her. For a moment he could not speak. Then he almost laughed but stopped himself. It would be rude. Ambassador, I appreciate the offer, he said carefully. But your world has no military experience in space combat. You have no understanding of the enemy we face. This is not a conflict that we understand perfectly, Yuna interrupted. Her voice was hard. You are losing because your people do not know how to fight a war of attrition. You calculate the odds, and when the numbers look bad, you quit. The Krelians know this. They use it against you. We do not quit, Taman said, feeling anger rise in his chest. We make tactical decisions based on reality. You retreat when you should hold. You abandon positions that can still be defended. You think like mathematicians, not soldiers, Yuna said. Commander, humanity has been at war for our entire existence. We have fought for food, water, land, and survival. We have never had the luxury of quitting when the numbers looked bad. How many ships can Earth send? Taman asked, though he did not believe it would matter. We can send 50,000 soldiers within 3 days, Yuna said. Taman's hope died. 50,000? The coalition had lost millions of soldiers already. 50,000 humans would not change anything, that is, appreciated, he said politely. Any help is welcome. You do not believe we can make a difference, Yuna said. She smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Commander, wait 3 days. Watch what happens when humans arrive. We are very good at one thing. We know how to refuse to lose, the message ended. Taman turned back to his screens. 3 days. In 3 days, Viridian Prime would be completely overrun. The station would be destroyed. Whatever humans arrived would find only corpses and ruins. But he sent the coordinates anyway. He told the Coalition Council that Earth was sending forces. The Council barely reacted. 50,000 primitives would not save them from extinction. General Sora stood in the diplomatic quarters packing his equipment. He had requested immediate transport back to Earth, but it would not arrive in time. Instead, he watched the battle and made notes. He sent long reports back to Seoul, to the Earth Defense Force headquarters. His final message was simple. They need us. They do not know they need us, but they do. Send everyone. Send the ones who know how to fight when fighting is all that is left. The ones who have never learned how to quit. In Seoul, in the deep underground command center, military leaders read Sora's reports. They looked at the tactical data. They saw the coalition losing, saw the Krelians advancing, saw the mathematical certainty of defeat. Then they made their decision. Captain Junho received his orders at 300 hours. He read them twice, then called his officers together. We are going to war, he told them. Pack for extended deployment. Combat conditions. No return date specified. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Hana, raised her hand. Sir, who are we fighting? Junho looked at the alien symbols on his datapad.
He had never seen anything like them before.
None of them had. I have no idea, he said honestly. But apparently they need to learn what happens when they fight humans. The transport ships began loading immediately. 50,000 soldiers, the entire expeditionary force. Every special operations unit Earth possessed. They brought weapons designed for human warfare, tactics developed over thousands of years of conflict, and something the galaxy had never seen before. They brought the absolute refusal to accept defeat. The Seoul Defense Command Center was buried 300 meters below the city. Colonel Minji stood in the main operations room, surrounded by screens showing data from across the galaxy. The Krelian War had been going on for 6 months, and until yesterday, Earth had watched from a distance. Now everything had changed. Show me the projections again, Minji said to her tactical team. A 3-dimensional map appeared in the air above the center table. Red areas showed Krelian-controlled space. Blue areas showed the coalition. In the past month, the red had grown dramatically. The blue was shrinking every day. At current rates, the coalition will collapse within 90 days, a young analyst said. The Krelians are not just winning. They are accelerating. Each victory makes them stronger. Each defeat makes the coalition weaker. Why? Minji asked. The coalition has better technology, better ships, larger armies. How are they losing? An older officer, a man who had fought in 3 wars, spoke up. They do not know how to lose slowly, Colonel. When they calculate that a battle is unwinnable, they retreat. They save their forces for the next fight. It is logical. And the Krelians exploit this, Minji said, understanding. Exactly. The Krelians push hard enough that the coalition calculates defeat is certain. The coalition retreats. The Krelians take the territory without heavy losses, then move to the next target. It is a cycle that feeds itself. Minji studied the map. She had read every report General Sora sent from Viridian Prime. She had watched recordings of the battles. The coalition fought well, but they fought like people who had never truly faced extinction. They fought like people who had other options. Humanity had no other options. Earth had nearly destroyed itself a dozen times. Humans fought wars over water, over food, over ideas. They knew what it meant to have their backs against the wall. What do we have ready to deploy? Minji asked. 50,000 soldiers, her logistics officer replied. Special forces, Marine units, Army Rangers. The best we have. But Colonel, 50,000 against a force that has destroyed millions. I know the numbers, Minji interrupted. But we are not going to fight their war. We are going to teach them how to fight ours. In another part of the command center, Captain Junho briefed his battalion commanders. There were 20 of them, each leading a unit of 250 soldiers. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were men and women who had passed the hardest training on Earth. They had survived combat in jungles, deserts, mountains, and cities. They knew how to fight when everything went wrong. Listen carefully, Junho said. The coalition thinks war is about mathematics. They calculate odds, measure resources, and make logical decisions. When they decide they cannot win, they retreat. He pulled up an image of a Krillian soldier. It looked like a nightmare, all black shell and sharp legs. The Krillians use this against them. They make the coalition think defeat is certain. Then the coalition runs, and the Krillians win without losing many soldiers. It is efficient. It is smart. And it has worked for 6 months. What do they want us to do, sir? One of the commanders asked. They want us to hold Viridian Station, Junho said. It is an orbital platform above a colony world. 6 billion civilians are on that planet. The station is the only place ships can dock to evacuate them. How long do we hold it? Another commander asked. As long as possible, Junho replied. They estimate 18 hours before the Krillians overrun it. The room was quiet. 18 hours was not long enough to save 6 billion people. Sir, what are our extraction orders? A young commander named Lieutenant Hana asked. When do we fall back? Unyo looked at each of them. There are no extraction orders. We hold until reinforcements arrive or until the evacuation is complete. Those are the only 2 conditions for leaving. And if neither happens, someone asked quietly, then we hold anyway. Junho said simply, that is what we do. That is what humans have always done. On the other side of the command center, Private Wu Jin packed his equipment. He was 22 years old and had been a soldier for only 2 years. This would be his first combat deployment off Earth. He was terrified. Next to him, Sergeant Dong Yun packed with practiced efficiency. Dong Yun was 35 and had been in combat 7 times. He had scars on his arms and a burn mark on his neck from a plasma grenade in the Manila incident. You scared? Dong Yun asked, not looking up from his pack. Yes, Sergeant, Wu Jin admitted. Good. Fear keeps you smart, Dong Yun said. He pulled out a small device that looked like a radio. You know what this is? A detonator? Wu Jin guessed. Correct. I'm bringing 40 kilos of explosives. Because when aliens see humans for the first time, I want to make a good impression. Dong Yun grinned. It was not a nice grin. Sergeant, do you think we can hold for 18 hours? Dong Yun stopped packing. He looked at Wu Jin seriously. Kid, I fought in the Siberian blockade. We held a fuel depot for 6 days against an army that outnumbered us 50 to 1. We ate rats and drank melted snow. 3 of us survived out of 40. But we held that depot. Why? Wu Jin asked. Because if we did not, 10,000 civilians would have frozen to death. Because orders said hold. Because we were soldiers and soldiers do not quit. Dong Yun went back to packing. 18 hours is nothing. We will hold for 18 days if we have to. The transport ships arrived at Earth orbit 12 hours later. They were massive coalition vessels, each capable of carrying 5,000 soldiers and their equipment. The ships looked strange to human eyes, all smooth curves and alien symbols. Captain Junho led his battalion onto the first transport. The coalition crew members stared at the humans. The aliens were tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. They moved gracefully like dancers. They also looked frightened. An alien officer approached Junho. The translation device on Junho's collar turned the alien's words into Korean. Captain Junho, I am Transit Commander Valis. Welcome aboard. I must inform you that Viridian Station may fall before we arrive. The tactical situation has deteriorated significantly. How long until we arrive? Junho asked. 46 hours at maximum speed. Then we arrive in 46 hours, Junho said. Whatever condition the station is in, we will deal with it. Captain, you must understand. The Krillians do not take prisoners. They do not negotiate. If the station falls, everyone dies. Then we will make sure it does not fall. Junho said. Felice looked at him strangely. You say that as if determination alone can change the mathematics of war. Commander, human history is full of battles where the mathematics said we would lose, Junho replied. We lost many of those battles, but not all of them. And the ones we won because we refused to believe the mathematics. The transport ships accelerated, jumping into faster-than-light travel. In the cargo holds, human soldiers checked their weapons, studied briefing materials, and prepared for battle. Many of them wrote letters home, messages to be delivered if they did not return. In Seoul, Colonel Minji watched the transports disappear from her screens. She had sent 50,000 soldiers to a war they did not fully understand, to fight an enemy they had never seen, to defend aliens who thought humans were primitives. She had sent them with orders that made no sense by coalition standards. Hold the station. No retreat. No surrender. Fight until victory or death. Colonel, do you really think they can make a difference? Her aide asked quietly. Minji thought about human history. She thought about Stalingrad, where humans held a city through the worst winter in decades. She thought about Hacksaw Ridge, where one medic saved 75 men without firing a shot. She thought about every desperate last stand in every war humans had ever fought. They will make a difference, she said. The question is whether the galaxy is ready to see what humans are capable of when we stop holding back. On Viridian Station, Commander Taman received the update. Human forces would arrive in 46 hours. The station was already under attack. They might not last 46 hours, but he prepared anyway. He designated landing zones for the human transports. He briefed his remaining officers about working with humans. He did everything he could, and deep inside, in a place he rarely acknowledged, he hoped. Maybe the humans could do something. Maybe they knew something the coalition had forgotten. Maybe there was still a chance.